latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. In the mayor's race, starting to take form, Susana Mendoza, the Illinois comptroller, career politician. She is taking a fairly aggressive pro-law enforcement line, relative to what we're used to hearing from Chicago politicians, that's for sure. Probably a more direct and supportive line than you'll hear from anybody else in the race, including Mimbo Ali G, who is seems to be starting to gear up as well. Mendoza was on a News Nation the other day talking about law enforcement in Chicago and said this.
So I have full faith and confidence in our Chicago Police Department. They're the best of the best. We have an incredible, I believe, the best superintendent of police across this nation. What we don't have is an administration on the fifth floor that believes in holding criminals accountable. And so it has led to our police officers being surrounded by people when they're in their vehicles, throwing tear gas at the officers, using fire extinguishers. Imagine a scenario where that is the case in any other city. And it's hard to imagine because it's not happening, because a normal administration would make sure that our officers are, in fact, enforcing the law instead of falling victims to it. So, look, I have full faith and confidence in our police. If they are allowed to do their jobs, they will do a magnificent job. And all the proof you need of that is how our police officers were on full display during the Democratic National Convention. We know they're capable of the best work. We have to let them do their jobs.
So that's not exactly the DSA lane that Susana Mendoza is choosing to take, which is probably smart given how many people will be trying to occupy that lane backed by the government unions come next winter. I mean, the primary is February of next year. It's right around the corner. Very interesting. I mean, I'm not over the moon with Mendoza, but I mean, you have to calibrate your expectations accordingly. And my expectations for the quality of the candidates in this field is very low. So she could end up being the proverbial tallest skyscraper in Wichita, as I sort of suspected she might, just because she's good on a couple of issues, even though she's been completely a tool of the political power structure for the last 2+ decades. So, let's, maintain proportionality here. But it is nice to hear, and I'm sure it is for Chicago police officers, that you have a potentially viable candidate for mayor that is not completely antagonistic to the idea of law enforcement and providing civilian political backing to law enforcement, because that hasn't been the case for quite some time. For more on this and other Illinois policy matters, Mark Glennon, founder of Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Mark, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan. Yeah, I'm with you exactly on your balanced description of Mendoza that you just gave. Her brother's a cop, I believe, and so she probably gets an earful of some common sense regularly that I'm sure helps. And she'll be an interesting case. I mean, she's a good vote getter statewide. She got more votes than anybody in recent elections. She got more votes than Pritzker statewide last time they ran. Although in Chicago, she, as you recall, didn't do very well. She didn't make it into the runoff last time around. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, comptroller, pretty low profile. She hasn't really been tested. Not much competition, and I mean, and also, I wouldn't, but that's going to be the case for all of these candidates. I mean, there's not really much separation either. She's, Pritzker's comptroller, and she runs around touting her financial expertise, for lording over state that's a financial basket case. So that's not very persuasive.
Yeah, we've written a lot about that. She's been fully in line with Pritzker with peddling the baloney about how they've righted the ship financially, and it's all based on nonsense, of course. But I think she understands finance reasonably well. I think, on the other hand, why would you be running for mayor of Chicago if you really understand how bad it is? I mean, that's a serious question.
Well, what else is she going to do? I mean, again, did she ever have a private sector job? I mean, she started out as a state rep, and then, the relationships with Madigan and Burke are already being populated. But again, like there's any candidate, prospective candidate in the field whose name has been bandied about that doesn't come to the table with those same dirty hands.
Yeah. If you really go back into her background with Burke and everything, that's a long story, and I'm sure that's going to come up. We'll see.
Well, no question. But I mean, in terms of the names mentioned, starting with Ali G, because he's got all the cash from the combine types. I mean, Broadway Bank, Jaws Durango, the stuff that came up when he ran for U.S. Senate in 2010 against Mark Kirk, that's coming back, and it should come back because he hasn't really done anything since 2010 other than, rebound for Obama when he's in town at the East Bank Club and, get appointed effectively to Secretary of State, where he provides driver's licenses for people in this country illegally. So it's not exactly the most brilliant record to run on either. This is just a guy who the combine knows will serve their interests well. He will be their front guy, and it will be business as usual. The appearance of change to protect continuity on the inside, generally speaking, but even more so, bring the old continuity back, because the new continuity for a lot of these insiders has been not exactly their cohort of people, as Brandon Johnson has focused the grift on the Chicago Teachers Union and minority contractors to the exclusion of, the other ethnics that used to enjoy the run of the place.
And it's truly a historic turning point for Chicago and so many other cities. They are so poorly run. All our major cities, most of our major cities, are in deep trouble. The blue-run cities are. And are they really going to talk about the issues, or are they just going to push it aside? Are Chicago voters finally going to demand some serious discussion on the real issues? We can't afford to have all our cities go down the drain. That's what America is facing. It's nothing less than that.
At the state level, you penned a piece for Wirepoints. It's over at wirepoints.org, looking at some of the new and exciting taxes that have been imposed as part of this phony baloney budget. And you suggest that some of these new taxes imposed, oh heavens, violative of the Constitution. That doesn't sound right.
It's like they just decided to throw up against the wall everything they could on new taxes and see what sticks in terms of legality and constitutionality without any real concern for the clear obstacles that they face on some of this. They've got about $800 million in new taxes here, including social media tax, the tax on digital advertising, cryptocurrency tax, all the rest. But these things face a myriad of legal challenges from the federal Constitution on down under the Commerce Clause, the federal legislation that bans any special taxes on Internet services or electronic services that differentiate between that and traditional media. Some of these obstacles are very serious, and I laid them out here. And by the way, they're not my legal theories. These have all been been brought up by lawyers in their newsletters and the businesses that will be effective. A lot of it's on record already. So this is just going to be a huge mess sorting this out. And I can't imagine the headaches that businesses will face in the interim trying to figure out what the process is. I mean, what they're really liable for. I mean, basic things like who a user is for purposes of some of these taxes, social media users, is really undefined. It's a big head scratcher, and again, fundamentally in the big picture, it didn't used to be this way, Dan. I mean, if at least in our youth and going back to earlier decades in America's history, it used to be that you'd expect our lawmakers to pay some attention to the constitutionality of what they put up. Those days are long gone. It's just throw it at the wall, like I say, and see what sticks.
Well, and the consequences of that for businesses will just send more running for the exits. It's not just going to be the bears. I mean, I got a friend who's in the sector, if you will, of commercial and industrial real estate. Just thinking about the bears, obviously now with one step out the door towards Hammond, John Deere one step out the door towards Crown Point, Lando Frost, Munster, Stampede Meat, New Mexico. The suggestion is that WeatherTech is going to be out of Illinois in the not-too-distant future. That wouldn't surprise me, joining CAT and Citadel and Boeing. So it'll be high-profile and low-profile, but the pace of exodus and all of the productive capacity and wealth will continue.
And can you name one thing that's in the new budget, or name anything in this batch of legislation that came out of the legislature this term that's a reform that would reverse or address the causes of those things?
How about
problems?
Where's the much ballyhooed property tax relief for, especially those who got reassessed in Cook County, who got blitzed on the south side and the south suburbs? Well, I thought that was going to be a priority. How'd that turn out?
It's truly as if there are no problems that have to be addressed, and instead the premise is that we'll keep doing the very things that are causing those problems. I mean, that's a perfectly fair summary of what the legislature is doing.
Mark Glennon is the founder of Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Dan. Take care.
And Mark joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers